What's going on, guys? FadeitLuie here, bringing guys a brand new video. We're gonna be doing a mid taper on my boy, so stay tuned. We started off by cutting the top with the foreguard all the way closed. He was doing a big transformation. He usually has curls on top with the mid taper, but now we're gonna do a 4 on top with the mid taper and make sure everything's nice and even. Now that we're done debulking the top, I'm gonna saturate the hair and try to lay everything down. Now that the hair is nice and saturated, we're going to use our comb to lay the hair down as much as possible. Before we use our hot towel, we're going to go ahead and create our first guideline in a back taper, contouring to his neck shape. We're doing this while our hot towel is warming up. Now that our hot towel is ready, we could go ahead and apply it on the head. This is going to help us lay down the hair and make everything nice and even. Okay, now we're going to take it off and drag the towel across the head. As you guys can see, everything's nice and laid down. Then it's going to dry and lay down even more. Now that we're done bonding them out and laying the hair down, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. You usually want to make this guideline around 1 inch thick so you can spread the blend. Now that we're done setting in our second guideline, we could go ahead and slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done erasing our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. As you guys can see, I'm using the comb to feed the hair into the clipper. We're then going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way close and attack that guideline. This is going to help us soften up the line and get ready for the half guard. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to show some extra support, go ahead and leave it for super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard and its lever, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Now that we're done with our half guard, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. As you guys can see, I'm using the comb to feed the hair into the clipper and I'm flicking out with the clipper guard. Also, we're going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the 1.5 guard. As you guys can see, now that the line is soft enough, we're moving on to our 1.5 guard and we're going to use the corners and the lever to erase the line completely. Sometimes there's still a faint line after using your 1.5 guard, so switching over to your 1 guard all the way open would definitely help. Moving on to our 3 guard all the way open, we're going to create our 5th guideline and tie everything into the 4 guard on top. Here I'm going into my previous guards and I'm making sure everything's nice and even and I'm getting any dark spots that I see. Moving on to our 4 guard all the way closed, we're going to make sure everything's nice and even. Before we line up the ear line, we're going to make sure the side tapers are nice and smooth and blend in naturally to the sides. Now that we're done detailing, we can move on to our gold FX and start off at the bottom, working our way to the top arch. Make sure to be gentle when there's thin skin because you could bite them with the teeth of the trimmer if you press too hard. Okay guys, I started making it as a high taper, but then I remembered he wanted a mid taper, so then we turned it into a mid taper. I apologize, but watch how this is transformed. When I made my first guideline, I cut off a lot of the C cup that I was going to cut off anyways, so it actually gave me a head start. Now that we're done botting them out, we can move on to our no guard all the way open and create our second guideline. When I did my first guideline, there was a lot of overhang and I started off very low, so I'm able to use my gold FX and recover the C cup. So no damage was done, no worries, no worries. This cut came out perfect. Now that we're done botting them out, we can move on to our shave stick and we're going to apply this before we use our foil shaver so he doesn't bump up. Now that we're done removing the stubble, we're going to slightly close the lever midway and all the way closed and attack that initial guideline. Now that we're done with our initial guideline, we can move on to our 1 guard all the way open and create our third guideline. As you guys can see, I'm mainly using the corners of the blade making a rainbow shape. Now that we're done softening up the line with the 1 guard and its lever, we can move on to the half guard and erase the line completely. Now that we're done with our lower guards, we can move on to our 2 guard all the way open and create our 4th guideline. Remember, we're going to use this same guard and its lever to soften up this line and get ready for the 1.5 guard. As you guys can see, now that I'm done softening up the line with the 2 guard and its lever, we can move on to the 1.5 guard and erase the line completely. Now we're moving on to our 3 guard all the way open, and this is going to help us connect to the 4 guard on top. Here I'm going into my previous guards like the 2 guard, and I'm detailing as much as possible. Also, as you guys can see, my opposite hand is on the top of his head, and I'm pulling the skin, stretching the skin as much as possible. Now we're heading back to the 1.5 guard, and we're going to detail as much as possible using the corners. Now we're heading back to our guard effects just to detail the C-cup a little bit more. As you guys can see, this taper is coming out real nice and clean. Now we're detailing with our no guard all the way open, and we're going to use our corners to flick out as much as possible. Now we're going to move on to the other side, and I usually start off at the bottom, working our way to the top arch using the corners of the blade, especially when I'm lining up my C-cups. He does have a lot of overhang over his hairline, so it does look like I'm cocking him back, but he actually has no hair there, it's just overhang. When you're using the trimmers, you want to make sure you go as slow as possible and make sure that the hair is feeding into the teeth of the trimmer, because if you don't, then the hair is going to shift and then you won't line them up properly. When you're lining someone up, you always want to make sure you spend as much time here and take your time. Never rush this part. I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's greatly appreciated. Also, if you guys want to show some extra support, go ahead and leave a super thanks down below or follow the Instagram. Now that we're done lining him up, we can move on to his goatee. Now that we're done lining up his goatee, we could go ahead and move on to our foil shavers to remove the stubble. Now that we're done removing the stubble and making sure everything's nice and clean, we can move on to our Turkish razor and Durban premium blades and make them as crispy as possible. When you're using your razor, you always want to keep it at a 45-degree angle and stretch the skin as much as possible with your opposite hand. This lowers the likelihood of you cutting someone.